Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirsha here, and now, before we do begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a lot of things happening. It has been quite the busy week for Deku and his group. Deku, he has infected a lot of people and turned them to his side. He even has made a lot of new allies, friends, and even taken a few people to be closer to him. Today he had to go find All Might at the bunker, and that was after he had to deal with a bit of a traitor. Izuku, after he talked with the pit, tried to force his infection onto the pit, turn it against All For One. All For One intervened. Deku and him talked in a place between the two, a place where they're both connected. And All For One, he severed the tunnel that connected Deku's infection to the pit. And Izuku, he was left there with a lot going through his mind, but he even got the mental image of his own possible death. And that led to him calling all his allies here and talking to them about a traitor. He even demonstrated his ability by killing Chizaki with his own quirk. And that definitely did show off that he is quite the powerful person now. And that they need to either fall in line or not question how he leads. Now then, with that being said, whenever Deku went to the bunker, he had a lot going through his mind. If he had to break in and kill everybody, that was an option. If he has to talk to the leaders, he'll tell them exactly how things are, tell them to fuck off, and then go following that string leading to All Might. However, he arrived and talked with Endeavor. The two went downstairs, and people saw Deku. And whenever the number one hero turned out to be among their midst, the zombified version of All Might himself, here calm and human, it alarmed people. Deku, he gave an offer to people. UA can be safe for them, but it has rules. And while he was talking and looking around the crowd, he saw a face he never thought he'd see. He saw Mazuro, Bakugo's father, and he dragged that man to the elevator, kicking and screaming, since he is still looking for his son. And Bakugo, he's still looking for his dad. Now, with that being said, we do have a week after Deku dragged Majuro kicking and screaming out of the bunker at UA, where a lot has happened. He's gone hunting, learned more about this power, and tried to figure things out. I mean, All Might is still settling, learning. Fat comes and bringing him flesh, since it is definitely difficult for him to eat of his own volition now. And Izuku, he does stand here in a room, hearing some of the sound in the distance from the people who have begun to settle outside these doors. And Izuku currently is in the cafeteria, him sitting there. As you know, Majuro, he does get a hang from the ceiling, and Izuku is moving around, talking about it. You know, it definitely does put a lot of things in perspective. What do you want with me? I told you. I've told you before. It's more personal. You're, well, what is it? Your little shit? No, no, that's not the right word to use. Your little bastard? That's more appropriate. Your little bastard. He broke a promise to me. My dying wish, in fact. Izuku, this isn't you. And you think you know me? You're not my dad. My dad's dead across the ocean. You are his dad. That's all that matters to me. And right now, I suggest you shut your mouth. I will hit you again. And last time, as I checked, you lost a tooth. So, how many you got? Keep count. If I don't knock out one each time, I'll just make sure to hit a little harder. Alright? Now shut the fuck up. I'm thinking. Currently, Deku going to float back down before he has to land on the ground and look up. And Majuro is still hanging there by Black Web. As Deku, he does get a turn, hearing someone walk in as he does Gasimina. Her stepping into the room and asking about it, looking around the massive cafeteria. If he's here, what? We've been looking into a few things. Okay. Currently, Deku folding his arms, talking about it. Do they have anything about the inside of the city? Oh, we're trying to track him down. Be more covert. You said to be more careful. We have been. I haven't found the Shadow Walker. We think he's active at night, but I haven't seen anything out there at night. Though, I do think I ran into a familiar face. I'm trying to hunt them down, but that's a little more worrisome. Hmm. Okay. We might be able to go on patrol later. I'll see what else pops up. Hopefully, though, they hear about the humans gathering. Though they must already know that I'm here. Hmm. If you do need to, look for more crazies. If they're hungry, they're hunting there. Though I do know a few nights ago, I think I saw someone whenever I went to go get some food. Who? I mean, I know I've seen someone, but who did you see? Not too sure, but I think their ability might have been good. So if I can talk to them, that'd be great. If I can't, then it will be bad. Tell Nedra to keep to the sky and hunt towards sunset. She's not here. Oh, right. Kami, is she here? She's out as well. Who is here? I don't really know. I'm just telling you what I know. But do you want me to leave you alone? Yeah, Zuko. Do you want her to leave you alone? Just, just go. Her turning. Going to leave as Deku, he does gonna turn himself. Walking over to a table and going to bring his hands down onto it. Taking a breath before he does a look back up. It's hard to find more people. Do you know what it's like to survive out here, Masaru? Not really. It takes a lot, doesn't it? It takes quite a bit. Yeah, you do things that you might not like. You definitely do things that you might regret, things that you might hate. You have to take action you don't want to. But then you still survive. But then what happens? You survive, but now you hate yourself. You do a lot of things, but now you're not dead, so hey, there's gotta have been a point. Well, you just Deku turning. Before he does, gotta look at somebody that Majuro can't see. Deku shouting at them to shut the fuck up. And currently Deku does stand there, looking at himself, before This other version is going to walk over and sit down, talking about it. They're just trying to tell him he isn't himself. You're not real. I know. And the fact that you know that too makes this a little bit more concerning, doesn't it? I don't care about concerns. I care about winning this. And being a murderer? That's rich coming from you. You killed a guy, didn't you? That was an accident. Oh no, it was an accident. Huh. And I had an accident too, didn't I? You're gonna kill and torture an innocent man because he's Bakugo's dad? I never said I was gonna kill him. You of all people should know from what we have seen, there are fates worse than death. Is that your justification? My justification for what? That you hate yourself? That you wish that you have died? I don't know. Okay? Do you think I like being this person in front of you? Do you want the honest answer? Depends. Do I want to hear it? I think you do enjoy it. And I think that's also the problem. You're not real. Yes, I'm not real. Which makes that, again, another concern. You're talking with a figment of your imagination. We're not doing this. Deku turning. Before he does, gotta throw the table as is flying across the room. It crashing down somewhere as Deku, he does gotta take a deep breath. Trying to focus. Trying to just keep himself centered. And he has to look up. Whistling his black whip, does a let go of Majuro. Him crashing to the ground as it does going to fall onto the ground itself. Currently, it going to sit back up and begin to move. Majuro watching, turning his head as the thing doesn't make its way over to Izuku, bringing his hand out as it does going to crawl up into his wrist, and that it does have him highly concerned. Him going to express, walking over. There's a lot he can do here. Just stay away from me. Mazuro, listen. I'm gonna keep you around, just in case. So, I want you to know, you're now my prisoner. You can't. Shh. No. Shut up. Shut up. You see, I don't care about that. You know me, Izuku. I'm friends with your mother. Mitsuki, she was kind to you as a child. Please, our family was kind. Just Deku bringing his hand up, grabbing him by his tongue. Deku's thumb currently on the bottom of his jaw. Before Majuro, he does begin to somewhat, well, shake. He's afraid, scared. And Izuku, he does go to bring his other hand up, talking about it. Okay, now, they are going to talk. But if he mentions anything about before, then he's going to rip his tongue out. So, there's that. Does he understand? Shake your head. Him nodding. And Deku, he does go to accept that. Before he does go to bring his left hand down and grab Majuro by the leg. Currently, him pressing down as he's beginning to feel the bones cracking. Majuro, trying to scream at his Deku, does still hold the man's tongue. Deku expressing, like he said before, he's a prisoner. And they can't very well have him running from the warden. The beast outside might mistake him for something else. That does make him think. Maybe you should ask Kami about something. Hmm. They talked about those creatures that live in the countryside. It wouldn't be that difficult. Head out there with the dragon. Find one infected. Bring it back. The possibilities with that are a little endless, aren't they? What he sees out there that catches his interest, what he finds out there. He's heard of these little things that can get into your blood. He's never experienced it himself, but he's assuming that the agony, it's not good. He's heard a bit more about it. Apparently they don't infect you, not in the typical way. In fact, they are a parasite. Well, in some ways. But the trade-off, it's definitely terrifying. Deku going to bring his hand out, pulling Majora's tongue before he is let go. And the man, he does this one sit there. Him feeling a little bit of blood in his mouth. And Deku, he has to bring his body up, pressing down on the other leg, before he has a twist and feel the bones breaking that one. Izuku turning, talking about it. Now then, he'll keep him alive, but, different methods, different things to do. Actually, he does have a new quirk he'd like to test out. Turning and staring at Majuro, who does lay on the ground, passed out, from the pain Deku has exerted on his body. And that, it does sort of annoy Izuku. Him bringing his hand up and thinking. He killed Chizuki just by unmaking him. But what happens if he remakes something? I mean, he's tried testing it a little bit, but it can be dangerous. He's still got to figure out more about those matter tricks. Or whatever they are. With Chizuki's entire ability at his disposal, he can rework the world around him. But that has also raised more questions. Okay, maybe you should bring an infected in and see what he can do with that. It might be more fun. It'll definitely be a lot more fun. And currently Deku does get a turn. Him going to look away from Mazuro, bring his hand up and going to give orders to a deceiver. The creature going to begin to walk across the floor as Majuro does begin to scream out. And Deku does turn back, telling him, without fully facing him, he's gonna be fine. That thing will take him to a room. Afterwards, he might assign someone to look after him. Somebody human. They'll know his needs. They'll know what medicines to give him. Though they will be made aware. If they are caught assisting him, then he will murder them. Directly in front of him. Does he understand? There's a lot of things he's had to do to survive. And Bakugo, he did this to him. My son wouldn't do this. Another word and you lose your damn tongue. You need it, don't you? That or I can turn you, change you and use you for an experiment of mine. I've got a few abilities I do enjoy. And let me tell you, after what Bakugo did, I have as much right to kill you as I do. But I'm not going to. He's still looking for you. And if I tell him I killed you, he won't believe me. Majuro, you exist only because I want your son to watch you die. That is why I'm keeping you alive. After what Bakugo did to me before, After what he did to me after? Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Not anymore. In this world, I have power, and he doesn't. Now, take him. The deceiver dragging the man away. As Deku, he does currently sit here. The other version of himself standing there with his hands crossed. Deku turning his head and seeing himself. So you're really gonna just do that? Torture him? For what reason? Because I can. Trust me. I don't want to talk to you either. Thinking back on it, never mind. It's not even worth it. You know, you can't ignore me forever. Deku turning, as the other version is gone. Him closing his eyes and sucking in a breath, trying to bury it, trying to not focus on it. He survived. He lived. He got through it. That's all that matters. That's the only thing that matters right now. This going through Deku's mind. Him trying to keep his mind on steady, trying to keep his rage focused. It's not directed at that man. It's directed at one person specifically. And right now, Deku, while he is staying there, he does make a decision. He's going to go out and try to find more people. Currently, him heading out the door as he has a turn. Currently, seeing a commotion over at the garden. The encampment the humans have made in the fields of UA. And Izuku, whenever it is going to see one of Ibara's constructs currently staying there on the wall, he does going to make his way over. Currently, him going to fly up into the air as he does come landing by. Him going to turn and look at Ibara, who does stand there with some of her golems as people in front of him. They do stand there. Him looking at them as she express, turning towards Izuku for looking back. She gave them a warning. This place is not to be harmed. Come on. Just cooperate. I was not going to. These humans are under our protection. Now, try to be aggressive again. I'd love to see it happen. Currently her hair beginning to change. It going to sink into the ground as it is going to turn into a wood-like surface, turning red. And the man, he does a stare at her, his crazed eyes showing off exactly why he's here. And Deku stares at the man before he does go step forwards. Ibara bring her hand up and expressing, she'll deal with the threat, if he'll allow it. So who's he supposed to be? Your boy toy? Your buddy? Or your boss? He is the reason you're still alive. You could cooperate, or maybe even turn if your ability is good enough. Deku seeing something sprouting up behind the man. The tree going to begin to sprout up high as the man does his own lunge forwards, falling onto his knees. And on a branch, it does go to bend down. It wrapping around the man's neck and pulling up into the air. Deku watching on as the man is trying to claw at his own neck, trying to grab at this massive trunk that is making its way around his torso. Him beginning to feel a sharp pain in his back as his legs are trapped. And the man, he does try and suck in a breath, barely getting half a gasp before trying to scream out, yelling for help. And Deku doesn't see that, asking her exactly what she's going to do. He's not going to die, but let's just say he's not going to live very well either. My abilities. I've noticed a lot of things. Her looking at her hand, talking about it. They've definitely improved. What do you mean? I can control it. More focus? I'm not using a hammer anymore, if that's towards the best example. I get it. Is that really it? No, I've discovered more. Certain things I can make with my quirk. Material that I believe we might consume. Consume? What are you talking about? Her looking at the tree before walking up and turning, bring her hand out and grabbing something off the back of it. Her bring it up before she's to hold up what looks to be something red in her hand, talking about it. She does mean this. Him stepping over, turning and going to get a bit of a smell, before bringing his hand out and going to grab one of these red strings he does it to see. It's almost like a water droplet. Deku feeling it in his fingers before bringing it to his nose, giving it another sniff. It smells like... That's so weird. It smells like metal. But Deku looking at her, and she currently does this somewhat lick her finger, talking about how she believes it's honey. Deku confused. Before he does go, there's something somewhat tasting sugary, and this does surprise him. Turning and looking at the tree, before it does feel alarming. The taste of flesh, and now the taste of something sweet. I mean, there's definitely the taste of blood, but this is so much more interesting, isn't it? I've tried this technique out before. It works best with humans, not on the crazies. Well, they still count, I guess. Though, what they produce is less savory? I guess more savory, whatever you want to call it. What they produce doesn't taste as well as a normal person, if that makes sense. This is interesting. Is it? I've discovered this. I'm currently running an experiment, seeing what I can do, making small changes, but I believe I'm almost a walking garden. A walking garden. What does that mean? It means a number of things for me. I do have to say, you definitely have earned my trust. You've made me a walking Eden, and that was something I've always prayed for. Well, I used to pray for. Well, after your display with Chizaki, I do have one question. That is, if we survive, what happens then? We all make it through this as friends? Then you're gonna honor your deal? I will. Him gonna bring his hand up, talking about it. With this discovery, there's a lot of interesting things here. She is now someone he can trust more. What do you mean? You could have hid this. You're telling me more about your ability, assuming I don't know it already. You didn't? I can see the future. Not that well. Still getting a handle and piling more power on top of it doesn't help. Fire, though, I've studied up on. Been trying to work on that one. The other one, that's a bit more tricky. Is it now? I believe that I could make something of Chisaki. See what I could do there. Maybe, ooh, there is an idea. He is one of us. What I could make from him could be different. Hmm. Maybe an apple. Some sort of fruit. Her smiling, and Deku does that devilish look on her face. Before he does go to turn, going to bring his hand up and whistle. Currently, the dragon hearing Deku, and it does gonna fly over. It making its way off the top of UA. Deku turning and seeing this massive Goliath go to land. It going to lower its head as Deku does gonna walk up, patting the side of the crocodile-like face. And Deku does gonna stare at it, going to bring his hand up and grab onto one of the horns, before climbing up on top of the beast and going to give it the order about how he wants it to rise to the air. And it does listen to Deku and his mind. It going to start running and then going to leap up into the air. The four front arms of it going to gain flight. And Deku, he does go to feel this thing flap its wings. Currently him heading up high, thinking about a few things. He's got to find more. Recruit more? Maybe see about finding other pro heroes. Mirako was a lucky find, but now there's the others. He's got All Might. He's still trying to stay hands off with that. All Might doesn't like a lot of things that he's doing, but he's not on All for One's side. He's trying to rationalize Deku's actions, especially after what Izuku has told him whenever All Might has asked questions. The man may not have liked the answers, but they were the truth, and that Izuku had to provide for his mentor. There's also his conversation with All for One. The man's afraid of him. He wasn't wearing his own face. But that does raise more questions. He severed the connection with a tunnel, as if he was chopping off a limb. A finger, perhaps. No. With how big that thing is down there, with how big the pit is, he might as well just clipped his damn nails. So it does raise more questions. But then there's questions about Eye Island. Him turning his head and going to see it in the distance. If he does get to head there, he's got a lot to deal with. Infect as many of those things as he can, head out, and see more. Explore the theme park and get rid of the guards. Yeah. He's already seen some of those creatures. They've reported back on one of them. It's certainly something. Though he would expect nothing less with the infection, and how it does seem to adapt so well. Now then, with that being said, we do currently have Deku, who, while flying over the city and having a few of these thoughts, he does go to search around. Currently, an hour going to pass, and Izuku, he currently is going to make his way deeper inside the city. Him seeing many creatures down below, them moving and operating a bit on their normal pathways through the city, trying to stay in their areas, trying to hunt, find anything to eat, any bird, any animal, or any person around. And Izuku, he has to see something, turning his head and seeing a massive cloud in the city. And it does someone alarm him. It's a cloud on the street, almost like someone used smokescreen. Huh. Okay, that's a little odd. Deku brings his hand down, standing up and telling the creature to do what it will, but ultimately head back to UA whenever it's done. If it hungers, hunt. If it doesn't, fly. And he does gonna jump down. Him going to take flight on his own and gonna move down. Currently, him going to land on the ground and look around the city, seeing some of the damage. There's massive footsteps on the street. They sink cars, but then he does a turn, seeing as they get smaller and smaller. And this does somewhat surprise him. Him stepping down the road and turning, looking up at some of the buildings that have had their upper levels crushed. Him going to turn, look at this cloud and taking a whiff of the air. And currently Izuku does feel a little odd. This strange smell, this strange feeling. What is that? Currently Deku's eyes going to somewhat glow, and this, it does catch his full attention. Him stepping forwards and into the smoke. Before he does go to look around, him going to sniff the air and catch a scent, and it smells like blood. But it isn't, is it? Him going to hear a sound, turning his head when the creatures do come running down the road. It making its way towards Deku as it is a grab on him. The massive creature going to smash onto him and then going to bring its head forwards. It screaming at him for throwing his hand out, smashing onto itself. And it is explode into viscera. Deku alarmed as he is sliding across the street and smashing into a building. Before he does go to sit up, covered in blood and bringing his hands up. Before he does go to give it a bit of a whiff. And this, it's a variant, not of, huh, this is interesting. Someone did this. Someone knew. And Izuku, he has a stand. Before he does, shake the blood out of his hair and wipe it off of his face. Before turning, looking around and trying to gain a bit of a sense, bringing his hand up and snapping his fingers. As a smoke, it does go to clear. Him going to power down and fly up into the air, looking around. Where did it come from? Okay, that's a good question. Okay. Is it that way? No, he cut through it. So, someone made that. And they made it well. Made it good? But how? Now that's a question he wants answered. Deku turning his head, hearing a sound before he does, gonna feel a sharp pain slide across his throat. Him going to bring his hand up and clutch at it. Before blood starts to squirt and he does gonna turn. Before something does come flying back at him, he does gonna grab it. It slicing into his hand before Deku does a power up. Currently him turning on One For All and going to crush the feather in his hand. And he does go to look at that, turning and looking around, not seeing anything. Okay, danger sense didn't go off. Okay, so that wasn't life-threatening. Okay. It's weird though. Is it gonna happen again? Okay. He's got to focus. Or was that not meant to be an attack on him? That was one of Hawks's feathers, wasn't it? That was a quirk? Okay, now it's got him on guard. Deku turning, hearing a sound as he does smash into somebody, him throwing out his fist and smashing into them, before they do go rolling backwards and towards the building. Him going to turn and look at them going to throw a tendril and wrap it around Deku's arm, before they turn and go to try and move up. Izuku, hearing a sound for looking down at his arm, him going to bring his hand up and go to turn his legs, before he is to pull down and then bring his right hand up. The person going to fly back towards him as he grab them by the throat, turn, and smash them in the ground, bring his hand up and telling them, right now he needs to. Asui? You. Class 1A. I am. Now, I'm assuming this was you. What is this? Gas? Something that you did? Not exactly. Deku, feeling his hand and palm begin to burn, before still staring down at her, telling her. He wants to know where that smoke came from. What that smell is. You smelt it? Yeah. It's odd. Strange. Now, who did that? I know it's not mine. I know it's not his. So, why is that variant existing? She made it. Who is she? Master. Controller. She infects them. Yeah, I'm not playing this game. Either you tell me or I rip your tongue out. Then I hang your skull over my fireplace. I got a nice rug to match, you know. I'll tell you about that another time. Deku staring down at her, and she does a look up at him. Before he does, being to squeeze down harder and being to pull her tongue. Her going to turn her head as she does go to bring her claws up. Her going to feel her fingers bend backwards. Deku hearing the visible snapping of bone. For she is to try and dig claws down into his face. Deku going to feel his eyes take some damage. Before he has to turn and pull. Him throwing her against the building and sending her through it. Her flying through the wall and smashing through another one. Deku going to stand there and turn. Trying to focus. Turning his head and going to try and use precognition. Before he does go turn. Him dodging out of the way of another feather. For turning and looking around. Hearing a sound and seeing something walk down the road. Deku going to stare at them as they go rushing towards him. Deku staring at the creature that is going to run on all fours and have strange growths all across its back. Deku bring his finger out and going to flick. Currently the creature being blasted backwards into a pile of limbs. It taking the force of Deku's attack and being killed. Before he does, gonna shout. If they're there, he can feel them. They need to know that. It's not working. And they'll kill their little friend here. It won't cause anything. I'm gonna turn, and someone does begin to step out. Deku turning his head with his eyes full of rage. Before he does, gonna see someone that doesn't alarm him. The brown hair. The round face. And his eyes do somewhat soften for a second. Before the person, they to bring their hands up and go to give a bow. expressing she is the one who he's looking for. Deku's eyes going back to a little mad, realizing it's not who he thought it was for a minute. It was a nice second, but it's not her. She's dead. And that does cross Deku's mind, as the girl does a step forwards and have something behind her that is just stand there. Deku talking about it. So he's assuming she caused that gas. I did? So you're the one in control? Possibly. Why are you here? It didn't affect you, did it? You didn't smell it? I smelled it. Though, I want to tell you something. My variant is more powerful. What are you talking about? Trust me, I think if he knew about you, he would kill you. So the fact that he doesn't is quite a surprise. I'm guessing he expected me to meet you. Though, I think he knows why I wouldn't have heard this. You sound insane. Maybe I do. Maybe I am. But who really cares at this point? Listen, I am the one who came back from the dead. Don't know if you've heard of me. I'm quite popular nowadays. Though, there's more to that. Listen, your little tricks don't work on me. Don't try them. Don't even begin to understand me. I want you to know this. I want to see you and members of your group at UA in approximately 3 hours. And if I refuse, I'll hunt you down, murder you, and use your head as either a trophy or something to give a warning to other people I encounter. Sounds interesting. I'll consider it. Weigh my options. Any reason I should join you? Right now, I have 10 quirks. If I wanted to, I could take more. If I wanted to, I could take this city. There's a war coming. Pick your side appropriately. Make sure you pick the winners. Because if you don't, and you're not on my good side, then there will be a bit of a problem. If he wins, he'd hunt you down anyways. Kill you, enslave you, do what he wants. Though I do think if he does find another variant, he'll definitely want to rip you apart and see how you work. You're still dead. I'm not. There's a difference. You may not like humans anymore except to eat or consume, but living does have a little bit more perks than being dead. Do you have that feeling? I've heard of it. I haven't personally experienced it, but I might have. You can't think too well. Thoughts are a little foggy. String two words together might be a little hard sometimes. Do you sleep? Do you control your hunger, or do you just rampage a little with it? I can give you more control of yourself. That's what that living part is. I can hand you right back a soul, if you want it. Some people begin to walk up, and Deku does turn his head, seeing a few members of this group. Hawks is not among them, and that it does give Deku a little bit of cause for concern. Her staying there and thinking about it, considering Deku's proposal. He has 10 abilities. That's not right. She's seen one of them, potentially. do you have proof? Deku turning, looking at Asui as she comes stepping back out before he hears her bring his hand up. Him going to pull her up into the air and they're going to send her flying towards him. Her stopping as Deku does talk about it. 1. Black Whip coming out. Him holding it up and holding claws in his hand. 2. Turning and going to light his finger. 3. There's many more. Deku flying up in the air, talking about it. But that will be his last demonstration. That's 5. Half of what he has. The others, he'll keep a secret. Now, like he said before, come to UA and meet with him. If they do want, bring their own meals. He has people there that they can't eat, but he's discovered something quite interesting too. He'll make a proposal to them, and they'll counter. If both their sides want to survive, they'll listen. Or she will. Be a smart person. Decide accordingly. Because the old man, he's stuck in the old ways. They're moving on to the new age. The new ways. And they can't let some old fuck be a part of that. Especially when he's buried in the past. Deku flying off. And she does sit there, trying to consider what Deku said, thinking about it. The most interesting thing to happen to her since she turned. And it was a guy with multiple quirks, unaffected by her own abilities. And we do currently have over at UA, where Deku, he does arrive back home, him getting a few things set up and telling people about this. About how he met someone who has another strain of the infection. And they're kind of surprised to hear about this. Interesting, strange, weird. And that, it does mean a bit. They have spores in their quirk. And apparently it somehow changed the virus. And over Bar does it hear about that? She's highly surprised. And everyone, they do to prepare. Us having about more than 2 hours later, where someone, they do to arrive. Deku going to sit in the cafeteria as they do come walking into the room. Him staring at Hawks. Him staring at Komori. A girl with horns in her head, a man with a bird head, and Asui, along with somebody Deku hasn't seen in a long, long time. But what's even more surprising is that he's on his feet this time. And Shoji does get to stand there. The man large, massive, leaning over and hulking among the group. Deku's staring at him. Before he is someone sit there at a table. Some meat laid out across it. Deku expressing about how they can sit down. They'll have a bit of a chat. This here's Nejire. She is one of his people. Someone very, very close to him. Deku turning. Going to somewhat grab her by the chin. Talking about it. It's very, very simple. She's important. There's a lot of things here that are important at UA. She's one of them. Deku going to give her a kiss. Before he has to turn back, her face right next to his ear, and Deku does go to express. Right now, everybody here inside this building is infected, except for 2 humans who he's given safe haven to. Really? Komori gonna sit down, and the moment she does, there's where Nejire does get a turn looking at her, before looking back at Deku. Her going to ask if he's alright. I'm fine. What is it? It's nothing. It's not important. Now, as I said before, we both know that the old man, he's gonna try and kill both of us. Though, I have seen something quite interesting. Island is just right there parked on the beach. Have you gone to it before? We've looked into it. The infected on that side of town have become more aggressive. They don't respond well. I see. Can you command them too? Somewhat. It's not easy. It requires will. Excuse me? It requires you to be stronger than them. Have you ever taken a Night Stalker? A savage? I'm guessing by that silence, you haven't. You need to be powerful and believe that. If you don't, they will try to kill you. I'd say that you're weak. Soji going to step forwards. Deku bringing up his hand and freezing him. Currently, Kami going to turn and bring her hand up. Her going to manifest a scythe in her hand. Her holding it up and going to express. He might not want to try that. Tokoyami going to stand behind Shoji, talking about it. There's a lot of things he might not want to try to do. And what would that be, Hybrid? There's things you don't understand about us. Stand there and listen. He'll hurt you if you don't. Tamaki, I only hurt him if he tries to attack. This is a meeting of peace. But if I do have to rip your skull off your head, I will. You think you can manage that? Do you really want to try and call my bluff? Or would you rather me just blow you in half? You know, make you pop like a balloon? How about you take a few steps closer? I'll give you 2. Really want to call my bluff? Take more than 3. Be a big man. You're already the monster. Or do you not like that word? You fucking mutant. And the creature, it doesn't move forwards. Deku saying 1, 2, 3. And he does gonna bring up his right hand, aiming it towards Soji and everyone that will watch him. Currently, him combusting into flames as Deku does stare at Komori. Him holding his hand up as someone they do come walking up, turning and going to take a seat by Deku. Him going to turn as Ibara does sit there, her talking about it. They really might not want to try and challenge him. She's seen mistakes before. Ibara, you do not need to be involved. I have told you before. I will prove my loyalty. He questioned me and my ally. He has a rug made from his skin somewhere in this building. He's still alive right over there. He can make death the preferred alternative. If you want to see a monster, think. The one trying to take control right now and who is in control is doing a lot worse. If he is in charge, he'll torture and kill all of you. And that will be the last thing he does. The torture can go on forever. We're all quite aware as to how much those bodies can go through. But us, we can go through just as much, though we've got proper control. he will promise that. I've discovered more about my own abilities as well, thanks to it. Take the deal if you want to survive, Komori. Hawks. What? What do you think? I don't know. I've heard rumors, but this is odd. I could have swore I saw a pro. You might have seen three. I've tamed the bunny, if that's what you're worried about. Lies. Deku going to turn. And right now, he does gonna reach into Miriko's mind. Her currently practicing and trying to gain a bit more of a handle on this new body of hers. Before she's gonna feel a call and turn her head. Her quickly jumping up and following that string, she is gonna feel connected to her brain. Right now, her making her way into the cafeteria. And Hawks doesn't stand there seeing her. Her body fully rejuvenated, her arms back to normal. And this, it does want to alarm him. As we do also have our All Might, he does come stepping into the room. And the entire group, they are left there with their jaws a little bit more on the floor. And Deku does a turn back, looking at Shoji and going to snap his fingers. The flames going to stop. Before Deku, he does go to stand up and go to walk over. Him going to bend down, asking Shoji exactly how does he feel. And Shoji does this wants to try and stand. Currently one of his crumpling legs beginning to regenerate. Deku sidestepping him as he step forwards. Him throwing all he can into that strike. Deku going to sidestep it and then going to turn, throwing on his leg and going to sweep Shoji directly off of his. Him smashing into the ground as Deku does a turn. Talking about it. Oh, come on. He only used one quirk. And even then, his is powered up too, isn't it? Come on. He's playing with the big boys now. Can he handle it? Or is he not able to? Shoji turning around. And Deku does his regeneration. It's more powerful than a regular zombie. And this does somewhat intrigue him. Shoji stepping forwards as part of his skin, it has begun to somewhat try to regrow over the damage Deku has caused. Deku throwing his hand out and going to smash Shoji square in the nose. Before Shoji, he does get pulled to the ground. Currently, the weight of his head smashed as he does, gonna feel his neck and spine move towards the ground, forcing him onto his knees. Him holding his hands out before he does use them to try and stay off the ground. Deku telling him, right, so he's going to finish this conversation, stepping forwards and going to turn, sitting down on Shoji's back, throwing his leg up, talking about it. Before his chin touches the ground, he's going to make them the offer. Right now, Shoji's life does depend on it. He is going to give them until the time his chin touches the ground to decide. Afterwards, he is going to kill him. Now, are they going to work with him or not? Your proposal is already interesting. It does have me intrigued. What guarantee do I have that you're not lying? That I am not as strong as you? I'm not infected with your variant, am I? Like I said, I'm a little special. Now, I'm fairly certain that, all for one, he infected you, he can't infect me. So, do you see the logic there? Are you following? By the way, time is ticking. Deku turning, and Shoji, he does have his chin somewhat close to the ground. Deku talking about it. 5, 4, 3, stop. I didn't even get to 2. Have you decided? Yes. We'll accept your offer. Are there risks? Risk. There are some, though that's more for your mutants, not really for others. I've seen it before, but it could be a little messy. Deku going to stand, and Shoji, he does go to jump right up, back onto his feet. Deku talking about it. Stepping forward to Shoji does get a turn. Him going to stare at Deku, his eyes full of anger before he says stop. Seeing Gamori bring up her hand and tell him not to. She wants to see this for herself. Deku stepping forwards and bringing his hand up before he does go to bring it on her face and tell her. This is going to be very simple. It might feel odd, but it's going to make her feel better. Deku bringing his hand up and spraying smokescreen in her face. Currently, people watching as the mist does begin to turn red, and it is inhaled by Komori, who does just want to stumble backwards and sit down for a minute. Her bringing her hands into her head, and Deku does get to watch on, before the others do not look at him, and he does go to fully turn, telling them, right. Now, that'll take some time. He'll infect all of them, and then they've got to go. He wants to check out that island, since it's going to be quite the interesting little place. You sure about that? Potentially. Though, I do definitely want to tell you. I would definitely like to. Everyone's staring at Deku, who does currently sit there, seeing a glimpse of the future. If he heads to the island directly, then Alphon will attack UA. No, not that. He's going to attack very soon. Okay. That's not good anyways. Okay then. Looks like he did something to piss off the old man. He'll head to Eye Island and then prepare for the attack. It doesn't matter. He's got people here who can defend the place, warn the humans, and they should be able to get out of the way. It'll be fine. Though, that might give him a chance to find out exactly who has that damn portal quirk. Take them out and move in. The best possible option he can is to cripple their mode of transportation. Use it against them. A nice, fine idea. Deku gonna turn, beginning to use smokescreen along the entirety of the room. And people, they do begin to breathe. Currently, someone gonna bring their hands up to their throat. And they do to feel alarmed, since it doesn't feel right. Deku does a turn. Seeing as somebody else, they do the exact same thing. Him gonna turn and see Shoji and Asui. Asui falling backwards and clutching her mouth. Her somewhat scratching in her throat, trying to get this burning sensation out. And Izuku does get to see that. We're looking at Shoji. Shoji turning and going to turn. Looking around, multiple different members of his appendages do begin to grow eyes, along with the fact that his body, it's rapidly beginning to regenerate. Deku seeing the man, who does go to turn into a massive pile of appendages. Deku, seeing this before the man, he does go to die. His body begin to break down into this strange pile. People watching on, and everyone, they do stare at that. Even Deku, stepping forwards and bending down, bringing his hand up and grabbing a handful of shoji. Him holding it up and turning his hand, it running through his fingers like candle wax. Talking about it. Right. That's sometimes what happens when people aren't just right. Deku turning to Asui, who does lay there sucking in breaths and trying to recover. Her body was put through the ringer. She didn't die, but it definitely wasn't pleasant. Deku talking about it. They might need to keep an eye on that one, since she might die. Might. You never said there was a risk to these people. I told you before. It won't always work. Besides, I gave you a deadline. He was going to die. I took the chance. But hey, it was all seen by me. Really? Yes. Like I said, there's a lot of things you don't know about my abilities. One of them, just so you know, I can see the future. And it's quite good. I want to say it's even rolling in my favor. Though, now you're a part of my team, and you're a part of my war. So once this is all over, we can go our separate ways and never see each other again. That's fair. I'm going to turn, beginning to walk away. And Komori does that turn, looking at Shoji, her a little more intrigued. He broke down, and that it does somewhat to give her an interesting question. Now then, with that being said, Deku, he does head back to his room, since he does have a lot of things he does want to work on privately. A lot currently passing through his mind. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.